Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Sheng. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. The US Department of Energy has now concluded with low confidence that the COVID-19 pandemic most likely began after an unintentional laboratory leak in China. DOE reached this conclusion based on a classified intelligence report provided to the White House and members of Congress. Officials would not disclose what the intelligence was, but many of the Energy Department's insights come from its network of national laboratories, some of which conduct biological research, rather than more traditional forms of intelligence like spy networks or communications intercepts. There are two competing theories about what started COVID-19 pandemic in China. One, that the virus jumped from animals to human at a market, and that it was accidentally leaked from a lab where researchers were studying coronavirus. Neither has had enough evidence so far to be conclusive. The Wall Street Journal and the New York Times both reported that the Energy Department, citing new intelligence, changed its stance on the origins of the pandemic, but the conclusion was relatively weak. The first is, like many other known infections, the virus jumped from animals to people, likely at a market in Wuhan. China that sells live animals. Support for this comes from the natural history of viruses and a path traced using the genetics of the virus taken from people who were sick early in the initial outbreak. The second is that the virus was accidentally released by researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This lab is a few miles from the wet market. In this scenario, researchers who were studying the SARS-CoV-2 virus or one similar to it accidentally infected themselves, passing it on to others. Support for this comes from the fact that the researchers at the lab were known to be studying coronaviruses in the same family as COVID, and the lab accidents have occurred in the past. The Chinese government cleaned up the wet market, destroying evidence before others had a chance to examine it, and seemed not to have released information on those who were sick earliest. And these actions obviously have been fueling speculations they have something to hide. A number of scientists have come out strongly in favor of the natural origin theory, particularly early in the outbreak, while others have since called for more information before drawing a conclusion. The US Energy Department had previously been undecided on the origins of the pandemic. Recently, they joined the FBI in saying the virus likely spread via a mishap at the Wuhan lab. Four other US government agencies, along with a national intelligence panel, still believe the pandemic was likely the result of a natural transmission from an infected animal, while two others are undecided. The origins of COVID turned political in the US after the outbreak began, with Republicans floating the possibility that COVID was the result of a lab leak in China, which some critics cast as a conspiracy theory. Republican lawmakers on Monday noted the initial resistance to the lab leak idea and said the developments showing the need for more disclosure. Senator Mike Brown from Indiana said the Biden administration needs to declassify all evidence related to a potential lab leak. The Senate passed a bill backed up by Mr. Brown in 2021 to declassify the evidence. Congressman Michael McCaul is the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He said the Energy Department finding was in line with a report he had issued back in 2021, and he said he had requested a briefing from the administration on the finding. Many Democrats have not been persuaded by the lab leak hypothesis, with some saying they believe the natural causes explanation and others saying they are not certain that enough intelligence will emerge to draw a conclusion. China's government rejected the DOEs, accusing the agency of engaging in a political smear. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said in a press briefing Monday. The origin of the novel coronavirus is a scientific issue and should not be politicized. She pointed to a World Health Organization investigative team that visited China in early 2021 and concluded that COVID-19 was highly unlikely to have leaked from a lab, which she characterized as an authoritative scientific conclusion. The uncertainty over COVID's origin stems in part from limits China placed on the WHO-led investigative team. The group spent 4 weeks in China, including 2 weeks in quarantine. It was presented with reports by Chinese scientists and government officials, but was denied access to the raw data behind their conclusions. The March 2021 report by the WHO said it was extremely unlikely that the virus emerged accidentally from a lab, but China appointed half the scientists who wrote the report and exerted major control over it. American officials have been largely dismissive of that work. Anthony Ruggiero is the scholar at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and a former National Security Council staff member during the Trump administration. His focus then was on biodefense issues. He said he believed China is still hiding crucial information about how the virus emerged. He said the lab leak theory should not be dismissed. The lab leak origin for the COVID-19 pandemic is not and was not a conspiracy theory, he said. Early in the Biden administration, after criticism of a WHO report on the matter, the president ordered intelligence agencies to investigate the pandemic's origins. While there was material that had not been thoroughly examined by intelligence officials, the review ultimately did not yield any new consensus inside the agencies. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan declined to confirm or deny the news of the Energy Department reports to media outlets. Sullivan told CNN on Sunday that President Biden has requested the Department of Energy's national labs to be brought into this assessment because he wants to put every tool at use to be able to figure out what happened here. The FBI is the only other federal agency to publicly conclude that the pandemic began at a lab in Wuhan in 2021. The confidence level is moderate confidence. Leaders of the intelligence community are set to brief Congress on March 8th and 9th as part of the annual hearings on global threats. Senior intelligence officials would most likely be asked about the continuing inquiry into the virus origins. We have since learned that public health officials wanted to hide that the U.S. financial aid to the Wuhan lab may have contributed to the gain-of-function research that could have led to the leak. It is a disgraceful episode, like so much of the initial COVID dogma. Given China's cover-up, we may never know for sure how the virus first struck humans, but Americans deserve to know the facts about the relationship of the U.S. National Institute of Health to the Wuhan lab and to promoting gain-of-function research. The early deception also needs to be exposed. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.